What's up, guys? Welcome back to Anime Sekai Podcast. I am your host, Ichigo, and I am joined by my best friend.
Mikan here. Hey guys.
Join us this week as we sit down, sit back, and discuss a silent voice, also known as Koi no Katachi. Hey guys, welcome back.
Hey
Happy
guys.
Friday.
Yay.
Yay! We are at Friday. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and thank you guys for stopping by this week. This week, we are going to be discussing the famous movie, A Silent Voice, also known as Koi no Katachi. And before we jump into the story, we do want to give a disclaimer that this episode will be discussing some of the
Heavy
deeper
topics.
themes and heavy
Mhm.
topics that deal with mental health, bullying, and the characters' suicide attempts. So, we did want to send out a quick disclaimer and just let all of our listeners know that if you are struggling with any of the topics that we discuss or anything personally, we ask and we hope that you will find comfort in somebody close to you, trust in someone close to you, and reach out to get the resources that you need. Okay, so just wanted to give out a quick disclaimer before we jump into the episode. So we're going to go ahead and begin. Koi no Katachi is a story about a grade school student with hearing impairment is bullied and transferred to another school. Years later, the former bully is tormented by his behavior and sets out to make amends. So, this story is about Shoko Nishimiya and Shoya Ishida. Shoya Ishida is the main male character, and as a kid, he is the bully of the story of Shoko Nishimiya. Now, Shoko Nishimiya has a hearing impairment, and Shoya Ishida and his little friend bully team, I'll call them as elementary school kids, they all decide to, out of boredom, I guess, I don't even want to say boredom, but out of, I guess for elementary school kids, boredom.
Yeah.
means- uh,
But also I think unable to express their true feelings too. That was like a huge
Well,
thing.
and they're unable to fully understand her. They start
Yeah.
bullying her, they start screaming in her ears. They eventually realize that she does wear hearing aids, and so she is then continued to be bullied. They throw her hearing aids across the classroom. Ishida throws it into the elementary school's pond at one point, and they just
Mhm.
keep damaging all of her hearing aids to a point where I guess Ishida rips it out of her ear and her ears start bleeding, and that's when you kind of know, look, this is serious. This is not. It was serious from the jump, to be honest with you, but these kids don't see it that way,
Mhm.
and eventually the bullying gets to a point where now Shoko's mother, Nishimiya's mother, has contacted the school about the bullying. The class then singles out Shoya Ishida. His friends then turn their backs on him, and he then becomes the target of the bullying by his friends. Even Ishida's mother becomes involved, and Shoko's mother kind of loses her temper. She doesn't kind of lose her temper. She does lose her temper. And although it is off camera when they do this, when they meet at the park, it is off camera, but all you see is Shoko's mom and Ishida's mom walk off to the side. She tries to give her some money, and then when she comes back, Shoya's mom has had her ear cut.
Her earring
It
ripped
was
out.
it was her earring ripped out. I was about to
Yes, her
say
earring was ripped out.
her
I got a
earring
lot to
was
say about
ripped
that
out.
moment.
Oof. I mean, let's unpack that for a minute
Oh, we gonna
because
start. We gonna start with the intense part already. Okay.
we're gonna unpack that for a minute because parents approach it different ways.
Yeah.
But if I was Nishimiya's mom, I don't
Yeah.
think I would have gone so far as to rip Ishida's mom's earring out,
Mhm.
but I probably would have been throwing the dukes, I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm. Okay.
Like, and
It's your
I
kid.
to be 100% honest with you, I think the school is a little bit at fault.
Mhm.
And the
Oh,
reason I
yeah.
say the school is at fault is because they should have noticed, like, the first time Shoko's hearing aids were taken out
Yeah.
or they were destroyed, if the mother let's and we don't know this in the story, but if the mother had complained to the school, then rather than there have been, like, 5 or 6 hearing aids
Yeah.
damaged in the past 2 months, the first time she called the school and let the school know, the school should have taken action and been like, "Look, this is not allowed. This is not good. Who's doing this? Because you need to stop
So
right
the
now."
thing is, I feel like it's always like that with schools. People complain, but nothing is done. And, there was even a point where the teacher, when it really came to a boiling point, and the teacher was like, basically to Shoya, he was like, we all know it was you, man. And he had an understanding that there
Yeah.
was some stuff going on, but he didn't take action. But that's always the case. Like every single time you hear like where it's gone too far, always come back to people knew, or even the school knew, and there were multiple complaints, but nothing has been done, you know?
Yeah. That's
Um,
the
I
sad part
I think
is
that's the sad part, yeah.
that, the homeroom teacher knew and was able to single him out as the ringleader, but
Yeah.
didn't pull any of those other kids out, and if that's the case, that means you were aware of the situation, you were aware of what was going on, and this is not a kids will just be kids moment. This is damaging from one child, damaging another child, including that child's property, expensive property, property that they need in order to, I don't wanna say function, but quote unquote "function" in the
Mhm.
classroom,
Yeah.
and up until that point, he was just like, I guess this is just harmless teasing because
I
there are
I think they he
sometimes
yeah.
some teachers, some educators out there that it's hard for them to decipher the difference between bullying and quote
Y
unquote harmless teasing.
yeah. I mean, but even look what happened after like, to Shoya, like, I think people, like, especially teachers, it's just a really hard job, but also I feel like that's maybe the kinda job where you can't look at it like a 9 to 5 where you just clock out, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
also it's just
that's
it's just
true.
difficult, and you're dealing with a bunch of kids, and I understand to a certain extent of, like, if you don't see it or sometimes it's just too much for you to handle, because that's not the only kid in class. There's, like,
Right,
30 other kids, you know?
right.
So, then the teacher themselves have their own life and own stress, like, so I understand to a certain extent, but if there is a complaint, I feel like you really have to take it seriously, but I guess
Yeah.
they kinda did? Not really, but
Well,
they contacted the mom at that point, and she went and apologized and gave the money. But
yeah,
back to that point. Ooh! Le
yeah, I'm
So
sorry.
I'm actually
I would have had to throw hands with the other woman.
That's actually really interesting.
Maybe.
So there's actually 3 schools of thought. One thinks that she ripped it out herself, just to like, kind of like as a repayment of like, "Hey, I'm sorry," on top of the money. Another group of thought said that Shoya actually imagined it, just saw her, like, in, I guess, Shoko's shoes, kind of for a moment.
Mhm.
I don't think that's the case because it looks like she had the scar.
No.
And then, of course, there's the rip out, which I'm pretty sure it was ripped out because let's be real,
Yeah.
Shoko's mom was throwing hands the whole
She was
time.
throwing hands. She
She
was
was
ready
throwing
to
hands,
throw
so
them
I do
hands.
not for a second
Mhm.
think
I
that.
honestly think that she, because she's angry. She's like, "My child is being bullied. The school
Yes.
didn't do anything to prevent it, and the reason she's being bullied is because she has a hearing impairment, and that is not fair at all." So, she threw them hands with the mama who was basic of the child who was basically
Mhm.
causing all of the bullying, all of the
All of the
torment.
bullying. I'm on the opposite end, though, because that one little scene, more than anything in the story, pissed me off. Like, truly, truly pissed me off. Because one, Shoya's mom is probably, in my personal opinion, one of the best characters in this story.
She's really
Um,
sweet.
yes, and she's like the only adult, if I'm being honest. She's the only like mature adult in this story. She goes to profusely apologize to Shoko's mom, right? And she
Mhm.
also gives her the money and everything. And for me personally, I understand, like, this was really important because it was supposed to cement this guilt into Shoya's mind, even
Mhm.
later on,
Mhm.
but it's just thinking a grown woman ripped another apologetic woman's earring off. Like, I get it when it comes to your kids, people do not mess around, and I totally
No.
understand, especially with her child being deaf, you know? But
Mhm.
I personally just never want to be the kind of person who inflicts the same, like, pain I've experienced onto others, especially,
Yeah.
like, not on a parent who seems genuinely sorry. I don't know, for me, there's just there are some things that do deserve the utmost punishment, but I feel like for a lot of things, I just simply don't understand the concept of an eye for an eye, and especially because
Yeah.
she is grown, and I feel like that's something your child just experienced. I don't want to be the same kind of person who does the same thing, basically. But I know hurt
Mhm.
people, so that's often
Well,
human nature.
yes. How I see it as that scene also made me mad, but it also I think the more I watched it, the more I started to
You
understand
understood, yeah.
a little bit more from a mother's perspective. If my child is being bullied and it is constant, it depends on the type of mother that I am.
Yeah,
But 'cause think about it, Shoko's mom cannot attack a child.
yeah,
I maybe in her mind, yes, she is hurt, but also in her mind as a mother, she was like, "You raised this
yeah, you
child
raise this
to
child, yep.
be this way,
Mhm.
so I can't fight him, but I can fight you because you and I are
Yeah,
on the same level." Like,
yeah,
regardless if you are apologizing, you giving me money, that does not fix the now impression that her daughter has. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like her daughter is now, and at the time we don't see it. This is as she gets older, but her daughter is now has now been bullied to a point where they've moved. They have left the
mhm.
school. And as soon as they leave the school, all of a sudden, all that bullying that Ishida started, and not it wasn't just him. It was not just him, but in the storyline, everybody made it seem like it was just him. All that bullying then turned on him.
Yeah,
And
it
this
it
is
basically
where
did.
karma comes in and he got basically a piece of his own
Oh, yeah.
medicine.
And I mean, he learned the best lesson. But I think also because I look at children a little bit differently, because I am like a firm believer that the person you are, as like, especially that young of a child, elementary school, is not who you will be when you are a grown adult.
Mhm.
So I feel like there's just so much room to grow, but I just wouldn't have ripped her earring out. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
that just
Well,
really upset me. But yeah.
yeah, it upset me too. Trust me, no, it upset me too. But I can see both sides of it, and
Mhm.
it didn't seem like she just ripped her earring out. It looked like she also got in a few licks too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying. Just moving forward as Shoko and Shoya, or Nishimiya and Ishida, get older. Ishida has now, because of his past wrongdoing, and then in turn being bullied and being ostracized by the people he basically grew up with, the people he called
Mhm.
friends and who
Yeah.
also were part of the bullying, they
He ends
ended
up
up turning
alone.
their back on him. He ends
Yeah.
up alone. And middle school, he ends up alone. He keeps to himself. He does not make any friends.
Yeah.
And what I think is interesting, going off of what you said, is that children are, when they are younger, they're obviously have not grown into that person that they're meant to be.
Yeah.
And his mindset shifts
Completely. And that's what I
completely.
find really interesting because he changes into a completely different person.
Mhm.
And I
To
I
the
really
point
like how they
where,
show that.
well, I like the character development in most of the characters, not all of them. There's some of them that I was like, "Look,
Yeah.
you didn't really seem like you was that sorry." So we'll get to that, but anyway. But even with Ishida, like he eventually gets to high school. He's in his now 3rd year, which in Japan, this is his, like, senior year or his
Mhm.
last year of high school, and that is when we find out that he had been working all of these jobs to pay his mother back the money that she gave to Nishimiya's mom,
For the hearing aid.
and after he had paid his mother back, he was going to then commit suicide.
Mhm. It's a very quick
Um
scene. That's what
It was
I
very
thought was
quick.
really interesting. It's like a flash and it's done.
I think it was Shoko and Ishida eventually meet. They are reunited in a sense.
Yeah.
And I think it was that day that he had decided he is going to continue to live in order to make amends for all the pain and all the hurt that he had caused her. And then we come across that scene where Ishida's mom finds his suicide note.
Mhm. Which you and I think have a different opinion. You said you felt it was like you were almost sad, right? Or
That scene did hurt my heart a lot
Mhm.
because I think as a parent, I do not want to
Of course, yeah,
ever
ever
I
have
don't think
to
any parent ever wants
Yeah.
to come across a letter like that from their child. I think it was a matter of she didn't know what he was planning, she didn't know how he felt, and then when she read that letter, it all clicked for her.
Yeah,
And the
interesting. Cause
pain and the frustration that she felt just was like, you know,
Mhm.
like you said, his mother is a really good mom.
Yeah, no,
Her
she's
character
exceptional.
development was
I
really
love her.
very well played out.
Yeah. That scene, though, for me, I thought it was really interesting because
Mhm.
I feel like for such a serious moment, it was almost comedic. Like,
Yeah,
for
it
the
was
way
slightly
she says
comedic.
it yeah, the moment she says it, she's like, "I know you tried to kill yourself," and he's like, "Yeah," without even thinking, like, kind of it just came out because he wasn't really thinking about it, and he just said
Mhm.
the truth, and then she's trying to threaten him with the money being burned, and I think his
Right.
little sister's even in the room, you know, and she's just like,
That's
"What's
not his
going
little
on?"
sister, that's his
Who?
niece.
Okay, his niece, okay.
That's his niece.
I was so confused about who that was for a long
Yeah.
time.
No, that's his niece
That's his
because,
niece, okay, yeah. I
her
was wondering, I
dad
was like,
shows up at
"Who
the
is
very end of the
right?
movie. Yeah,
Yeah, but,
yeah.
that whole scene and then the money gets burned and whatnot, he's like they're like, "Ah, no." I was like, "Wow, for such a very sad scene, this was awfully funny."
Well, it was powerful in the sense that it showed what a mother goes through for
Mhm.
her in that situation, but also it shows their relationship. Like, they don't
Uh-huh.
always have, like, a very serious, "I am always your mother, you do what I
Yeah.
say" type of relationship. Like, they have a mother-son relationship, but they also have a slight friendship that seems to be blossoming
Yeah.
between
Like,
mother and son.
I feel like she very much trusts him in a sense that
Mhm.
he will be alright kinda thing.
Right,
He will
but then when
become a
she
good
found that
adult.
note, it clicked for her, like, "Okay, there's something else that I did not see."
Yeah.
And even in that moment, she probably felt like, "I failed as a mother I didn't see it, I didn't catch it." And so I think to kind of establish, like, "You need to be here." She was like, "Look, I will burn this money right now. Tell me you are okay. You're not gonna do that anymore. You're not gonna think these things. You're gonna come to me. You're gonna lean on me. You're gonna trust me."
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Yes, yes, yes." And then after that, we find out that he is reunited with Shoko. He's really
Mhm.
trying to turn his life around. He's really trying to seek redemption. This is life. Like, this the best thing about the story is that this is so realistic. It is life. You know, you feel with the characters what they're feeling. And
Mhm.
when he started learning sign language
Yeah. I think just as, like,
so
a
that
guilt thing and also, yeah,
Mhm.
as part of his, like, his little redemption.
That was the start of his redemption, is that
Yeah.
when they were reunited, he was able to use some sign
Yeah, he was
language.
pretty good apparently. I think he was actually really good.
I think
Um,
Shoko was definitely a lot more shocked because the last time she saw him, he was bullying her.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, what's really sweet is, like, all she wanted was to be his friend, right? And even after all that, she still did, and I feel
Mhm,
like as a young child, it's hard to express your feelings and
mhm.
understand other people, and I feel like for him, he also it seemed like, in my opinion, he wanted to be friends with her, but he just didn't know how to properly communicate and properly express those feelings.
He didn't try to understand her either
Mhm.
because here there is another child who's my age, but she can't talk and she can't hear me. Like, she can talk
Yeah,
using sign
yeah,
language. And
yeah.
then it got even more
It got more extreme, like,
rocky.
as
I'll say,
mhm.
yeah, extreme rocky when the school brought in the sign language teacher
Oh, yeah, because it
specifically for
became
their class.
yeah, because it became, like, I guess to a lot some of the other students, like a burden almost, a burden they
Mhm,
have to, like, carry extra. But you know what I also think is interesting? You know that concept of, like, oh, when little kids like somebody, they, like, bully them and tease them?
mhm. I don't think
And,
that's true.
I
Like,
mean, I don't agree with it, I think
it
it's stupid, but
it doesn't make any sense,
yeah,
but I think in this case, it almost seemed like it leaned towards this way. I think Ishida was just he was teasing her because, 1, he didn't understand her. He didn't
yeah,
attempt to understand her,
yeah.
and in his eyes, she was, quote, unquote, "foreign" in the sense that he rejected it. Anything that was
Mhm.
different, he rejected as a child, and he eventually grew to not do that, but
Yeah.
because of the bullying that he went through from elementary school, middle school, and now he's in high school, he's a loner, he's keeping to himself. In the anime, he puts an X mark or a
Yes, I like
Batsu
that
mark
symbolism.
on everybody's face. Anybody that talks to him, you don't actually see their face. And the way that the movie does it is so well played out. It's just you see it through his eyes. You see like
He
he's
makes himself so he
he's
can't hear
trying
anything or
to
see anything.
he doesn't wanna make any connections with
Mhm.
people. He finds that people and he says several times in the movie, "People are scary."
Oh, yeah. I mean, they are. I'm not gonna lie, they are.
People don't know how to treat one another type, and I get that
Yeah,
sentiment because there
and
are
also
some
he felt
times
he didn't
where
deserve he didn't deserve like, he
yeah,
felt very guilty. He felt like he didn't deserve to have those connections.
mhm. He
And
says that a lot
mhm.
too in the movie.
Yeah, and one thing I absolutely love about the show is that it shows you that even a small action can change the course of your life. You know, for
Mhm.
instance, when he helped Nagatsuka, his friend, well, not his friend at this point, but by just giving his bike to the guy who was bullying Nagatsuka and trying to take it from
Yeah,
him, he was
yeah,
able to make a new friend just from such a small action, and that really changed the trajectory of how he was able to make friends and how the story went.
yeah. That was, like, the first person whose X mark had been completely removed,
Yeah,
and I think he may have seen a little bit of his younger self in Nagatsuka,
mhm, and he
and
brought the courage and helped him,
mhm,
which he normally doesn't do.
yeah, and that shows that he is at least attempting to make amends, and I think the best thing about this story is that it shows that people should be given second chances.
Yes,
And that's what I
I
love
agree.
about it. And Shoko, when she comes back into the story, nobody knows this, but she tries a little bit to become his friend or at
Yeah.
least talk to him again.
Yeah, she kinda wants to be, like his friend, which is really cute.
Mhm. But her little sister
Oh, I love her
is
little
basically
sister.
blocking her.
Yeah.
Yeah, little sister, but think about this. The little sister is very overprotective.
Oh, yeah, and she has some trauma, with her
Mhm.
her big sister, so I totally understand. And the relationship is so cute, though, and I really feel for her little sister, though.
I feel for the whole family
Oh,
because
yeah.
while we don't see Shoko's dad, we don't know what happened with him, they don't
Mhm.
explain, but you can tell that the mom has gone through it,
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and
ugh, yeah. I can't even imagine as a mother what that would feel like, you know? But can we just talk about the mom for a minute
the
again?
mom
Ooh,
yeah,
the
Shoko's
mom
mom
is a
but she's very
fascinating
overprotective.
person.
She's an overprotective mother.
She is not afraid to fight high schoolers, and it kills
Yeah.
me. So, the scene this is a little more towards the later half, but, since we're talking about her mom, when
Mhm.
she went and slapped Ueno, and and
That
then
was
because
okay,
Ueno
wait,
was
wait,
yelling at
hold that
Shoko.
thought. Yes,
Yeah.
hold that thought because the first time she slaps somebody, she actually slaps Ishida first.
Oh, yeah, no, she slaps him first. It was a very
When
quick scene. After
Shoko brings him to their house for a birthday,
oh, no, 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 no,
and
that's later. This was when, he was following the little sister after they met a few times already,
Oh, yeah.
and then
Yes,
the mom is coming to get her, and
and
then he
she
sees
sees
him,
him,
and I'm just like,
recognizes
"How do
him,
you
and then
remember
slaps
his
him.
face for years
Smacks.
of not seeing him, though?" That's crazy.
Also, the other thing is she does not say anything. She doesn't say, like, "Stay away from my family," or "Leave us
Yeah, no.
alone," or anything like that.
Sh
She just walks
sh
up to him, she grabs
smacks him.
her youngest daughter's hand, she
Mhm.
smacks him across the face, and she just walks off, like,
Yeah, but she does tell, the younger sister, "Don't hang
Yeah, stay
stop
away
hanging
from
with him."
him.
Yeah,
Mhm. But
but
she only tells her that,
yeah, no, she
like,
doesn't say
once they
anything
get
to him.
home. She doesn't say anything to him.
Mhm, and I'm
I
like,
mean,
"Wow, you just smacked somebody and walk away."
but their mom has been through so much, like, the
Oh, no,
story doesn't.
I totally get it.
I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, this woman is mad at the world.
She is, and that was definitely a projection because she hasn't seen this boy in, like, God knows how long. In
At least
years.
10 years.
Yeah,
And what could have been is as soon as she saw him, all those same emotions from when he was bullying Shoko in elementary school came flooding back. And
yeah,
she was like, "Look, I cannot say anything." Because think about it. If she would have opened her mouth and said something, the floodgates would have opened. And I think
probably,
she
yeah.
would have said more and gotten angrier and angry and angrier to the point where she was probably, instead of just slapping him, she could have just
Mhm.
knocked him out.
Yeah, you know what's the most unrealistic thing about this story?
Okay.
That
What?
a kid like Shoko, who's so demure and quiet, came out of that woman. Like, I understand the little sister because that girl, I feel like she could put up a fight, like her
Uh,
mom, if she really had
yes.
to.
I will say it is realistic in the sense of we do not see what Shoko's mom was like before the bullying happened. We don't know
Oh,
what
yeah.
she was like when it was just them 2 at home,
Yeah. I mean, she was still
or
tough if she was willing to kind of
well,
throw down with his mom already
we
at that
we were
point.
only introduced to her after the bullying was known.
Yeah.
And after she had made a complaint, that was the only time we're introduced to her, so by that point, she was already pissed. And so, in between those years after they move, we don't know if she's, like, calmed down, we don't see her anymore because
Mhm.
once they move away, the story stops and just follows Ishida. And
Yeah.
then when they are reunited, it follows both of them
Yeah,
and
but
their
they do give a
growth.
backstory. That's why, like, the
Mhm.
little flashbacks were meant
Yeah.
to, like, show that Shoko, like, still constantly struggled.
At this point, Shoko and Ishida are now starting to bud a relationship, and she is so I don't
She's
wanna.
very broken, if that
Yes.
and she hates herself, which is very sad.
Yes. She hates herself, she hates the fact that she cannot communicate like everybody else, she hates the
Mhm.
fact that it's just so hard for her to just do anything, and that bothers her and it sticks with her. And to be honest with you, I think that is trauma stemming from the bullying that she's received. Now, I don't know if even after she moved, if at her new school the bullying continued, and at the middle school if the bullying continued, or if they put her in a different type of school or what. But
Yeah.
this girl has some serious trauma,
Yeah,
and the way
and
that the story made it seem like is that it was stemming from them kids at that elementary school with Ishida.
so I actually disagree. I feel like that kind of trauma, particularly if she ends up befriending and wants to still be friends with the kid who bullied her, I feel like, yes, it definitely stems from there, but I feel like that kind of self-hatred is just I don't know, it's, like, so deep-seated that it's, like,
Yeah.
almost in sadly, like, ingrained in you. It could be
Yeah.
and then the constant I'm assuming constant bullying, but even then, I feel like a lot of times people are their own worst critic.
Mhm.
Because even when she was in so much of a better place, right?
Mhm.
And this goes to, like, this attempt with
At the
her.
festival,
Yeah.
after
She
the
was in a
festival, yeah.
yeah, technically she was in a good place. Like, although there was a little bit of a, turbulent moment prior, she felt like she was ruining his life almost.
Um, I disagree, and the reason I disagree is because although it seemed like she was in a good place. Mentally, we don't know what place she was in because they had already been hanging out for a little while.
Yeah.
And on the outside, she could have been like, "Yeah, I'm making an effort to so people don't worry about me, basically. I'm making
Oh,
an
yeah,
effort
yeah.
to pretend to be this side of myself that I'm really not." But
Mhm.
mentally, I don't even think mentally at that point in time, I think she was like, "This was a good memory, and now it is time for me to go." Sadly,
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
was a good memory for me to have. I will keep this memory, and now the people that I love
Will not be bothered,
don't
like,
well,
by
they
me
don't have
kinda
to
thing.
suffer because of me.
Yeah.
They all have good memories. My mother has now, because Yoshida was with them when they all went to the festival. My mother is
Yeah.
now seemed like she's quote unquote okay with him being around.
Mhm. Things were kinda patched up
Yeah.
in a
They don't
sense.
need me anymore, basically.
Yeah.
So I think mentally she was not where she was. So what ends up happening is Shoko has made the decision to end,
Take her life, yeah.
and Ishida tries to go and save her
Yeah.
and ends up falling off of the balcony.
He pulls her up.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
was able to pull her up, save her, but he ends up falling forward while trying to save her and thus getting injured.
Yeah.
And
That scene was so beautiful, though, I have to say.
the art style was beautiful. That scene broke my
It
heart. I that
it
At that point, I'm bawling my eyes out. I gotta pause the movie.
yeah.
I gotta get
I
some more tissues because
I absolutely loved when he's holding on to her and he's like, "Kami-sama, like, please, from
yeah.
tomorrow, God, please, like, from tomorrow, I will look at people and I will recognize them. I will do better.
Mhm.
Just, help me out in this moment." And I felt like that is
Yeah.
something a lot of people do. People just
Mhm.
hope and pray when things are, like, really, really just horrible. And I was
Mhm.
like, I feel like that is exactly something what somebody would be saying on that in that moment.
Yep.
And it broke my
Honestly,
heart.
that scene where she first climbs up onto the balcony and there's
Mhm.
nobody in the house, that particular moment, I was like, I want to jump into this story and just grab her and be like, "Girl, we love you for who you are. We are here for you. Please do not do this."
Ugh, it is so and just the fireworks in the background and her kimono. Oh my god.
That
So sad.
scene hurt my heart, it hurt my soul, and just for any of you that are going through anything, if you feel like you are struggling, just please know that there are people out there that love you, they care for
Mhm.
you, and they would do
Absolutely.
anything for you. So if you need resources, please do what you can to get those resources.
Please reach out,
Reach out.
and there's a lot of resources you can find online. Also, I have to say, one of the beautiful things I like about this story is that by Shoya not taking his life and choosing to live, he was also able to save Shoko, and I think that's such a
Mhm.
beautiful message that despite his own self-hatred and despite his past mistakes, the life he thought was insignificant and useless was in fact the complete opposite, and he was able to save a life because he saved his own.
Yes.
And it's just important to know that, there are people that care about you guys, and just from you being here, you in fact do change the course of other people's lives.
Yes. Whoo, you gonna make me cry.
It's a heavy topic.
Yes, this story is so heavy and beautiful at the same time.
Mhm.
And I can see why it's won so many awards.
Loved by so
That
many. Leaves a mark on you, you know?
Now, I do want to ask you,
Okay.
what do you think of the other characters, as in the elementary school kids that were
Mhm. All
bullying
the other friend group, right?
the other trashy friend group
The trashy
who
friend
I
group.
call them trashy because they all were a part of the bullying and they all grew up to go different routes. There is
Yes.
one girl in particular, I promise you, if I saw her,
Who wait, which
it would
one? Which
be
ones are
on
you talking about?
sight. Ueno.
Ueno, okay. So you would be like Nishimiya's mom, throwing hands at her. That scene was hilarious.
Bro, here's how I knew that little girl needed a butt whooping.
Mhm.
Because the way that she talked to Nishimiya's mom, like, when they were in the fight and she goes, "Your weird daughter," and you're like whatever she said, it was
Yeah.
disrespectful, and she needed to get her butt whooped.
Oh, yeah. That fight scene
And
killed me, though. I was
it
dying. That scene was great. I
it was
thought it was
like
hilarious.
Ueno had I mean, and this is just at that particular scene. Ueno had
Yes.
absolutely no respect for anybody else. I understand that she was upset because she's had a crush
Ye
on
yeah.
Ishida since
Or
they
some
were in
kinda feelings, like
elementary
some
school.
kinda insane feelings.
Romantic,
Mhm.
something. You can tell that she just wants everything to go back to the way that it was before
Mhm. Before
Nishimiya, before they even met
basically,
her,
they shoot
because
it.
she does state that in the show.
Mhm. She does. But I gotta say, Ueno, although that type of character scares me, the thing is, she is even in her actions, she even says, like, "Listen, I know, like, what I did is probably not good, but the thing is, I don't care, like, this is who I am,
Mhm,
unapologetically, messed up as it is," and she knows who she not who she is, even though she's not a good person, she knows who she is, and she knows exactly what she is and what she kind of, like, wants, and in
mhm.
that way, I do have respect for her, but she's
She
just
doesn't go about it
messed
the
up
right
messed up.
way.
Yeah, she's just messed
She
up.
just she doesn't go about it the right way,
Mhm, and I
and
mean, she is a bully, but she even states, she's like, "I know what I did, but I'm not sorry about it," which I'm like, "Wow, okay."
well, I think she was sorry about it to a certain degree, but at the same time, she was like, "Look, the reason I don't like you is because I don't want to
Like, take care
learn
of like yeah,
how to take care like, how to
yeah,
change myself in order to accommodate you." That was
yeah,
her main thing is, like, "I
mhm,
have to change myself and do everything different and out of the norm for me, and that
yeah,
is an inconvenience," which
yeah.
personally, I think that is the most selfish thing.
Yeah, she's
Anyway.
basically yeah, she's, like, unapologetically selfish, and the thing is, I feel like with characters like this, you really need a tough person to, like, combat, like, Nishimiya's mom who will throw hands, because I feel like characters like this don't like types that are like Shoko, who don't stand up for themselves, I guess you could say, or who don't fight back, and they just always clash.
Yeah, she was a straight up bully from the start of the show
Oh,
to the
yeah.
beginning. She just grew into this personality that was just ugly. And I
Mhm.
understand at the end she was, you know, actually trying to make an effort, which that was good. That was the only thing about her character development. After Ishida was in the hospital and she kept going to visit him, and it was at that point she understood, like, look, Nishimiya is gonna be a part of this group, and there's nothing she can do about Nishimiya not being in the group. Everybody's getting older, everybody's growing into who
I
they
mean,
are
she still
meant to
threw hands
be.
after telling her not to come, but Shoko was
She did.
persistent.
Shoko
That's
was
why
persistent, and
I
that's
think
what
Shoko's
changed her. She's like, she's actually sorry.
yeah. She kept standing up even if she pushed her
Mhm,
away and was like, "Stop following me." She kept going, and so, basically, she grinded her down until Ueno was
mhm,
like, "Okay, I get it now."
yep,
But
yeah. I feel like they went from they both hate each other, they
yeah.
don't even wanna be in the same room as each other because one is the bully and the other one is the victim, to they now have a love I don't wanna call it love-hate, but they have a
Yeah.
understanding
Understanding of each
hate
other. Mhm, yeah,
relationship,
basically.
because at the very end,
The little
Ueno
sign language, yeah.
signs Baka, and Shoko at that point was really excited. She was like, "Okay, she's
Mhm.
finally" I don't wanna say coming to terms, but she's finally trying to make
E
an effort to understand
exactly.
me. Um, but the other girl, I don't know how I feel about her because she was an annoying character both
Okay.
times I watched this. And the reason she was annoying is she didn't own up to anything. And that
Mhm.
person is Miki Kawai. She was like the quiet girl with the glasses in elementary school. And then she kind of grew up and had like this Koko debut or like the high school debut.
Mhm.
The reason I did not like her character is because in elementary school, while she did not stop any of the bullying at all, she did not even make an attempt to stop it.
Yeah, she didn't help at all.
When
basically.
everything hit the fan, she was like, "I didn't bully her. I that was you guys. I didn't do
Mhm.
anything." And I'm like, "But girl, you didn't stop it either, and you were right
Yeah,
there with her. You didn't tell
exactly.
Ueno to stop talking about her like that. You did not go and tell the teachers."
Yeah. This is why I prefer someone like Ueno because even though they don't really accept that they're bad,
Mhm.
they accept kinda like, "Yeah, I did that." So but this kinda girl, she was like, "I didn't do it, like, I had nothing to do." I'm like,
Yeah.
girl,
She was
come on."
like, "That was you guys. I was just there." And it's like, "Yeah, you were there, but you didn't stop anybody. You didn't do anything. So you are as much at fault as the other group."
And I understand as little kids, it's harder. I totally get it. But when she was in high school, the fact that she still refused to accept,
Mhm. And then she
that's
put
what
on the
annoyed me.
waterworks, like, "Why are you
Oh my
guys so
gosh.
ganging up on me?" I'm like,
Yeah.
They're not ganging up on you. They're trying to get you to realize that what you did was also considerably wrong. You may have not been
Mhm.
an active part in the bullying where you were doing stuff, but you knew about it. That
My
was
god.
my
She's like,
main
"But
issue with her.
Shoya was like this," and I was like,
Mhm.
"Girl, please just quiet yourself."
I really don't have anything nice to say about her just because I think she although she said, like, she did not actively have a role. You're right, you did not have an active role in the bullying, however, you saw everything and you still didn't tell anybody.
Mhm, and you never owned up to it.
Never owned up to it, and I don't know and she does say, like, "I was afraid of you guys, that's why I didn't tell anybody," and I'm like,
Yeah. No, she's always playing the blame
"Really?"
game.
That was the only thing. So, I do not condone bullying
Nope.
even in
We
the
do not.
slightest.
Nope. I mean, it's just beautifully done
Mhm.
and really heartfelt.
Yes. Now how did you like the ending?
I mean, of course, I love the ending. I just feel like everything was resolved a little too quickly, if that makes sense. Because, when he distanced himself from everyone, and I don't know, I feel like there wasn't like proper resolution, but I think they did it in the best way they can because it wasn't like you can't do it super long. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think it was in rather than like, "Hey, everybody's one big happy family," it seemed like it was more of the start to the
Yeah,
beginning
the
of their
start of fixing
lives in
things.
the resolution
Mm.
stage.
Even like random characters like Shimada and even the moms,
Mhm. Yeah,
also were
I
able
was
to
actually
fix
about
their
to say the
relationship.
same thing. Ishida's mom and Shoko's mom eventually become somewhat friends, quote
Yeah.
unquote. It seemed like they were awkward at first, but where Ishida's mom is so warming and welcoming
Yeah.
that it was starting to bring that warm, welcoming feeling out of Shoko's mom,
Mhm.
which I liked. I actually liked because when she was cutting her hair,
That was so sweet. That was so cute.
the end of this movie is like a beginning to the rest of how they're going to move forward.
Mhm.
So it was the beginning of an end. So it was the end of that bullying stage, that self hatred stage, that mental hardship stage, to they are now slowly coming out of that. Here's how we move forward. Here's
Yeah,
how we lean on each other. Here's how
and
our
accept
families lean on each
themselves.
other.
Yeah,
Here's our support group, our friends. And
and when she was,
that
like,
part.
going out of the school and the
Mhm.
the exes fall off, he's just, like, accepting a new phase in life and moving on, which I feel like is really it was really beautiful, and it's just beautiful how, even they're high schoolers, they're still really young, but they have
Mhm.
the rest of their life to keep growing, you know?
Yes. That's what made this story so touching is that it's a story of growth. People who have made mistakes in their past and that they are really trying to make an effort to amend.
Mhm. People can change,
Yeah.
and so they're there for each other, and it's so cute. It's so cute.
They're there for each other, they support each other, they've gone through hardships together, and now
Mhm.
they are beginning to get out of their hardships to move forward in their lives despite everything that's gone on around them. They are leaning on each other to move forward. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. And once again, if you feel like you are alone in this world or if you are struggling
We just want you guys to know, like, your life matters, and we love all of you guys.
Yes. Every single one of you listening, thank you so much. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you guys.
We will catch you guys next week for a brand new episode. And if you are not following us on our socials, please join us over on our social media accounts. We are on TikTok and Instagram at Anime Sekai Podcast. You will find direct links in this episode's description. We love you guys, and we will catch you guys next week for another brand new episode.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.